Hello and hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing? I was scrolling through the Ask a German subreddit and something really caught my eye. Why do Germans hate Berlin so much? That's something through doing all these videos and stuff. I never really realized it, but I have seen that kind of sentiment before expressed by Germans that like Berlin is sort of, I don't know. There's a lot of craziness that happens there. I know there's a lot of video compilations of crazy stuff in Berlin, and I've caught a little bit of that sentiment over the past 1,000 German videos I've watched. I never really thought like, oh, Germans hate Berlin, but it is an interesting question. This definitely caught my eye. He says I posted on another thread about why Audis are so popular in Germany, Berlin, and received a few responses that hate Berlin. Is this a common sentiment? What's it based upon? Do Berliners have a bad attitude or something? So, quite a interesting premise. Certainly very controversial, I'd say. Right now, I'm wondering what the population of Berlin is before I even begin to read the answers. Okay. 3.6 million. Yeah. So, huge. It's not like, obviously the great majority of people don't live in Berlin, or great majority of Germans don't live in Berlin, but it's still a huge, huge city. Berlin is a microcosmos of things we dislike about our own country. Inefficient, ineffective administration, crumbling infrastructure, underpaid and understaffed education system, terrible digitalization, an increasingly arrogant socioeconomic elite. The hate against Berlin is an expression of German self-dislike. Wow, this is pretty powerful. Like, pretty deep stuff. German self-dislike. What an interesting concept. And I definitely, I've recognized some of that, in all the videos I've watched, that there's certainly not a lot of German pride among Germans, despite having a massively successful, beautiful country. I guess because of history and stuff, there's just not a lot of German pride. There's a lot of self-dislike inside America too, but I think the self-dislike is certainly more common in Germany. We know there's a lot of like super patriots here in America too. Don't get me wrong. There's a wide variety, wide spectrum of people. A lot of Americans hate America, and a lot of Americans are like, "That's America #1. We're #1 in everything in the world, bro." We know these things are wrong with our country, and we despise ourselves for this, and Berlin makes a good and deserved vent for this feeling. Okay, that's sort of, wow. I wonder what people from Berlin think about this. That was pretty harsh. I would say it's more like Germans project all their shadows on Berlin, meaning the unconscious aspects of their personality that do not correspond with the social ego ideal, leading the ego to resist and project the shadow. Germany's conservative gray work attitude contradicts with Berlin's hedonistic, artistic, avant-gardistic culture, often labeled arrogant. Okay. Berliners are pretty much a dollar store version of New Yorkers. Wow. I don't know about that. It's the same reason a lot of Americans don't like New York. A lot of Americans don't like New York. I mean, that has actually been a growing sentiment over here in America, but it used to be that New York was one of our most proud cities. I was born in New York, and back then I felt like it was held in high regard in America, and it still is. But there's definitely been a big increase in crime and stuff. Like a lot of what goes on, it's kind of like that other comment where a lot of things bad about America right now seem to be taking place and amplified in the large cities. As an American, I'm wondering why you think we don't like New York. Most of us love New York. What we don't like are the high prices and traffic. Aside from pretty much any city in California, New York is the most expensive city in the country, but it has everything you could want. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's expensive, right? Because there's so many people that love it. There's a lot of demand because there's a lot of people and a lot of business going on in New York. So the prices are high, and of course that also means the traffic is high. I couldn't imagine driving in New York City. That would be crazy. But yeah, that's just a result of how popular New York is. So it's kind of ironic to say that's what people don't like. I mean, it's true, but yeah. All right, let's move along. Berlin is a mental asylum. Always has been. Even Frederick II, I'm curious who that is, was very open-minded, hated Berlin so much that he had his new home built in nearby Potsdam. Former King of Prussia. Well, that was a long time ago. Because it hates us. It is loud and dirty. Your bikes get stolen, your car scratched, and when you think it's your lucky day because there's so many free seats in that S-Bahn carriage. I have no idea what that is. Well, it surely is because there is a hellish stinking junkie in there. Sure, those things happen elsewhere as well, but not with such frequency. I mean, okay, to be honest, this is kind of giving me New York vibes. You know what I mean? Like you could think he's describing New York here, to be honest. Except for the S-Bahn carriage, which I need to look that up too. S-Bahn carriage. A train that consists of 2 rail cars and a sidecar in between. Oh, that's neat. I'll have to look that up. And also everyone has to drive an hour always to get anywhere. Oh my gosh, that is the worst thing about big cities. I mean, I personally do prefer like more small town living. I just can't deal with the amount of people in a big city. I just don't. I don't hate Berlin. I hate the very vocal, arrogant, and condescending minority of Berliners who come out of the woodwork whenever Berlin is mentioned. Whew. Arrogant and condescending. Once again, kind of sounding like they're describing Americans. Like that's how I do a lot of these videos, you know, and learn a lot what the world thinks about Americans. And man, some of the bad things are that arrogant and condescending comes up a lot. Many of the pro-Berlin comments in this thread are prime examples. Well, I haven't seen any pro-Berlin. Whether you either love it or you hate it. So true. I love it in the summer, hate it in the winter. Wonder why that is. What does this guy say? No, not the old German comment. In the summer you feel good, and in the winter it hurts. I don't know if that's a metaphor or what that means. I've had good times there, but there's a very common type of person that I keep running into, and I don't like that guy. These people claim to be so open-minded, but clutch their pearls should you offer a thought that's even slightly outside of the locally common, supposedly anti-bourgeoisie set of opinions. Tolerant to everyone in the world, except if you're from another part of Germany. I'm laughing because, man, I think we all might know these type of people. Then you're dismissed on those grounds alone. Not that they would know anything about where you're from. The only people they hate more than non-Berliners is the people that actually want to live there. Wow. Be honest, that kind of reminds me of like Californians. Oh man. Californians are their own breed here in America. And I'm not saying they're bad, they're not. It's just there's a big culture in California of like tolerant people. And then there's the incessant self-absorption. Everything has to come back to Berlin. Sooner or later, everything has to be about or compared to Berlin, mostly because it's supposedly better. I visited my sister there once, and we went to a screening of a documentary about urban gardening concepts around the world with Q&A after. Interesting enough doc, but the audience jumped down the English filmmaker's throat for not having included Berlin into the doc. They were literally mad that they were able to watch something without them in it. Or that they were made to watch something without them in it. Germany's spoiled brat that can't handle money. Oh my gosh, there is a lot of Berlin hate, huh? All these comments are interesting. As an international, I absolutely love Berlin. Maybe because I'm from India. The bar is not too high, lol. Because they think Berlin is culturally better than the rest of Germany, while it's objectively worse in any regard except for partying. They are proud to be poor, while in reality they spend 50% more per capita than most other states. What does they are proud to be poor mean? You don't get much of that here in America, people being proud to be poor. I don't know what that means. But they let other, more frugal states pay for their excesses. California, once again. There's a lot of great things about California, but I'm just saying, as far as their budgeting skills, not very good. They consider themselves to be more developed and the rest of Germany to be backwards. Despite having high crime, worse schools, mediocre universities in which it is too easy to graduate, they do more littering, have very little high-tech business and industry, and they file comparatively few patents. Wow, that's an interesting stat to go by. They don't file very many patents. They are rude and loud. Now, if that isn't the most typical description of Americans, this is kind of funny. I kind of feel for the Berliners right now because I've read so much stuff like this about America. You know, I just hear the Berliners saying, it's not all of us. It's not all of us. They think the rest of Germany is all racists. California. It is a dump that sucks money in and throws hipsters up. It's like New York. People keep saying it's like New York, but from these criticisms, I think California is more like the pertinent comparison. It's like New York. People like that. People like that it has a bunch of cool stuff, but also hate it because it's super chaotic and a mess. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I'm kind of overwhelmed by thoughts right now. I mean, in my opinion, like from what I see, Berlin is obviously an amazing city. I would love to visit. It does seem like big cities in general, at least here in America. I mean, it's true here in America. The bigger cities are where the chaos happens. And there's usually a lot of crime. And honestly, there's a lot of people that are, what is it? Like, superficial. There's a lot of superficialness in the big cities. With that said, big cities are awesome for a lot of reasons. You know, there's all sorts of stuff to do, amazing architecture, and amazing people. Just also, there's a lot of people. So when there's a lot of people, you're going to have a whole lot of different kind of people, I think. Man, that's interesting. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think. Hopefully I don't think I said anything that would be like too offensive or anything, but I'm sorry. This was not meant to just be a video like trying to put down Berlin. I was just interested in why People have that opinion. Some people. Whew. All right, that was a doozy. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.